Shane Steichen is going to be the next Colts head coach as long as nothing weird happens, like with what happened with Josh McDaniels a few years ago. And obviously, he has helped lead one of the best offenses in the NFL. But as we have seen with other offensive coordinators, Adam Gase, you can help lead a great offense but be a horrible head coach. So, is there anything in Steichen's past that would show that he would not be a good head coach or that he would be a really good head coach? That is what we will be looking at today. Shane Steichen started his coaching career in 2010 as an offensive assistant at Louisville. They went 7-6 with the 64th highest scoring offense in college football. They also averaged almost 370 yards per game and a little over 1 turnover a game. They would win a bowl game against Southern Miss as well, so that's pretty good, especially when you look at their previous year where they went 4-8 and were one of the worst teams in college football. But Steichen was also an offensive assistant and not the head coordinator, so you can't attribute all that success just to Steichen. But he would have a change in roles, as starting in 2011, he would be hired by the San Diego Chargers as a defensive assistant, where they would go 8-8 and rank 22nd in points against while having prime Eric Waddle. So obviously not a very good defense, but just like at Louisville, you can't give full credit or full blame to Steichen as he was an assistant. In 2012, Steichen was still with San Diego in the same position with a defense that was showing improvement, jumping from 22nd to 16th best in points allowed. But the team would still finish a unimpressive 7-9. And the unimpressiveness would continue, as in 2013, Steichen would be hired as the Browns' offensive quality control coach. Forget them being one of the worst offenses in the NFL. They were one of the worst teams, as they went 4-12 with guys like Jason Campbell, Brandon Weeden, and Brian Hoyer suiting up at quarterback. So not the best offensive personnel to work with, but still a horrible season and something I'm sure Steichen is not proud to put on his resume. But he would go back to the Chargers and become their offensive quality control coach for the 2014 and 2015 seasons. In 2013, the Chargers had arguably a top 10 defense in the NFL and made it to the divisional round. The year Steichen took over as an offensive quality control coach in 2014, they would finish with the same record, but the offense would worsen, and they wouldn't make the playoffs at all, which is honestly surprising because at week 6, this team was 5-1, and by week 13, they were 8-4. But what would kill them was losing 3 out of their last 4, and they would miss out on the postseason. The following year in 2015, these Chargers would completely fall off, going 4-12 with one of the worst offenses and defenses in the NFL. But in 2016, Steichen would take over as the quarterbacks coach in San Diego, a pretty nice position when you have Philip Rivers as your starting quarterback. But from 2016 to 2017, they wouldn't do much, missing out on the playoffs both years. But with all things considered, they had a pretty good offense, ranking around the top 10 both years. And in 2018, the Chargers would become one of the best teams in the NFL, going 12-4 with one of the best offenses in the NFL, and Philip Rivers having a great year. They would lose in the divisional round, but it was against the Patriots, so if there was ever a good playoff loss, that would be it. But the following year, the Chargers would move to LA and do horrible, going 5-11. However, during the season, Steichen would get his first coordinator job as the Chargers' interim offensive coordinator. He would even stay as the Chargers' offensive coordinator in 2020, and they would improve slightly, going 7-9 despite losing Philip Rivers. So up to this point, Steichen has for the most part been on offensive staffs that were mediocre except for a few years. But even then, he was not the leading coach for that offense. So Steichen really had not proven he was an offensive guru that led teams to greatness. But in 2021, Steichen would be hired as the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator. and he would lead a top 10 offense in the NFL with Jalen Hurts playing very well. The Eagles would go 9-8 and make the playoffs, but lose in the wild card round to the Bucs. And now, this year. Most of you probably already know that Steichen led one of, if not the best offense in the NFL to a Super Bowl. They would lose, but still that offense was great. So after that long journey through Steichen's coaching history, will he make a good head coach? Well, he had led a great offense this past season, and the season before that. They did have a lot of good pieces, but so do the Colts. Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Paris Campbell, Jonathan Taylor, Jelani Woods, and among others we might acquire this offseason. And he really won't need to worry about the defense, as it was actually really good last year, even while missing one of the best linebackers in the NFL, and they are pretty set coaching-wise with Gus Bradley and that whole defensive coaching staff. So Steichen won't really have to touch much over on the defensive end of the ball. If the Colts draft a young QB and add a few more young pieces to Steichen's liking, I think he will do fine. Do I think he is some offensive mastermind who will immediately lead us to a Super Bowl? No. But I think the dynamic of a young head coach with a young budding offense could lead to a playoff run down the line. I think Steichen will do good. But if we screw him over and give him a horrible offense, he will not do very well. So let's draft Bryce Young or someone like that, please. It will make it a lot easier for Steichen and that whole offensive staff. I'm Limitless Polls. Thank you for watching. Please come back next time for another video and leave your opinion in the comments down below on how you think Shane Steichen will do as the Colts head coach.
Same fucking bitches, got the chopsticks with extensions on my dick, cause I like